Hello and welcome to Cinema Gulp. Today, this is John.
And this is Ben.
And we're going to do a quick shot review of Sully.
Texas 1549, runway 4, clear for takeoff.
Sully. Sully.
Sully, we're too low.
Sully.
Sully!
Sully! Sully, where are you?
Sully the film, unlike Sully the human being, is not what I would call extraordinary. I would call it suitable and safe, but nothing really to write home about, especially around Oscar season. It tells the amazing story of the heroic pilot on that fateful day just a few years ago. Though it tells it with grace, care, and respect, it doesn't equip it with much ambition or style. Tom Hanks, who plays Sully, is excellent here. He's conflicted, and through his eyes we see a lot of what the real pilot was going through just days after the event. John, what did you think of Sully?
So there's a scene where Sully's talking to his wife during the media circus that follows the water landing, and she says, "I hope this is going to be over soon." And I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. I really did not like this movie. I found it to be very bland, boring. It was like a Lifetime original TV movie at best. You know, usually knowing the real life outcome of these stories, it doesn't always mean that the movie will lack suspense or tension, but that's exactly what happened with Sully. I'd say just chalk it up to Eastwood's understated directing style, and part of it chalked up to the real life story just lacks dramatic tension, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm too cynical to get emotionally invested in this kind of film, but I know it's an inspirational story dealing with courage and people coming together in the face of a disaster. I don't know, just so much of this film felt perfunctory to me. It just did not hit at all. I just couldn't get invested in it or really find it engaging in any way.
The thing that I like, the one aspect that I do like, is I was interested in seeing how pilots, because this is true story, and because it's accounts of Sully and his co-pilot, played by Aaron Eckhart, and his mustache. It's nice to see how...
Shout out to the mustache.
Yeah. Oscar-winning mustache, hands down. Best thing in the film is Aaron Eckhart's mustache. I like how they show you the day-to-day routines of these pilots and how they keep their calm and why they're able to do that. You see them jogging a lot. They're really obsessed with jogging. They keep themselves physically and mentally fit for that kind of job, and that kind of makes me feel happy knowing that I fly a lot, that the pilots are on top of their game like that, and they are kind of calm. The biggest problem I have with this film is Clint Eastwood's direction. And I know that's hard to say, and people will start bashing me for saying that. This is one of those films where he doesn't have a focus at all. This movie is all over the place, in my opinion. The movie falters with the script and the focus. I think what he was attempting to do was tell this event story through different perspectives, through the passengers, and then through Sully and the co-pilot, whose name I forget. The problem is he introduces these passengers halfway through the movie and tries to give them some type of character development, and it's so rushed at that point. And they're just hokey, dumb, just ridiculous, over the top. Hey, we're New Yorkers!
All the side characters are terrible.
Absolutely terrible, and they're playing it up so much. It almost feels like a Cronenberg world of characters where they're just really like overly happy or overly strange for no apparent reason in like a regular setting.
And all the moments in the film where it was like, support New Yorkers or whatever, the New Yorkers come together to...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got something for your ass! You mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
To solve this problem, or the scene in the bar that he has with
the overly excited Michael Rappaport.
You know not what? That Heather, you're not enough, but you know it's like, hey, you know.
Yeah, or the woman in the hotel who wants to hug him, you know, and just none of these scenes felt real to me, especially like real New Yorkers, not 100%.
No, it's almost like Clint Eastwood's never stepped foot in New York City, because his idea of New Yorkers is like Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man, where they're like, hey, what does he say? He's like, what are you doing, picking on a guy who's just trying to help out a bunch of kids?
Leave Spider-Man alone! You gotta pick on a guy trying to save a bunch of kids!
I want to say they showed the event 3 or 4 different times. It was very repetitive because he was going for that non-linear style, but he was inconsistent with when and how he used it.
Yeah, I think that was one of my big problems with the film, was that attempt to use the non-linear style. It just didn't really, I wouldn't say that it was confusing. I knew what was going on at all times, but it was slightly confusing of whether this is before or after sometimes. And it just didn't really add anything. It didn't add like a spark to the film that made it that much more interesting and engaging to have this non-linear storytelling. If anything, it diffused the tension because, like you said, we saw the event, the main event of the film, the water landing. We see it 3 times, I believe, from different angles and things like that.
His attempt at that, showing us the event through the cockpit, and then I think even through the air traffic controller's eyes, and then the passenger's eyes. The passenger's perspective was just kind of peppered in. You didn't really even see it from their perspective, only like a tiny little bit. That attempt of him trying to do that, and you're absolutely right. There was no tension in this movie, and maybe he was going for that, Eastwood, because he's like, everyone already knows the story, it just happened. Maybe he didn't even care about that.
I felt like there was an aspect of like the mental state of these pilots and how they keep themselves calm in this situation. That certainly came through, to the detriment of the film, to the tension that we want to feel as though we're passengers or we're in this event, because everybody was so calm. The
They're too calm.
The air traffic controllers were calm. Even the passengers, to some degree, were too calm. The rescue workers, people coming in to help in this situation, everybody was so calm in the film that it just made me feel bored throughout the film. I never actually got excited for any of this. And I also think that they show you the event too many times to where by the time it comes at the end of the film where it's supposed to actually be exciting, you could care less anymore. I think the film opens with the event happening, so it just happens too early, so the rest of the film, there's just no tension. The most tension there is in the film is the hearings that take place afterwards, which I actually found to be the most interesting part of the film, but it really does come so late in the film. The non-linear storytelling, you see it happen throughout the film, but the part that I found to be interesting where it's like Sully's attempt to get this hearing to understand the real pressures and the real situation that he was involved in and not what a simulation tells them. That was the most interesting part of the film for me, but it's kind of a small part of the film.
It was a small part of the film, but that was definitely my favorite part. Seeing the simulations run over and over again, that was almost like a short repeat of the repetitiveness of the original part. The calmness of these 2 pilots, though, I said that was impressive to me and it was interesting to see that. It does, for Hollywood's sake, it does bring down any tension because they are literally like sedated. They're so calm. And even when the thing crash lands, they really don't even move. They just kind of sit there and they don't say, hey, are you okay? Hey, Sully, how are you? Are you okay? Yeah. They just kind of
they grab their jackets.
Yeah, they grab their jackets and take their seatbelts off.
Yeah, and then other things with the non-linear storytelling that I just didn't find interesting. It tries to give you a little look into Sully's past, but that was super dull and uninformative. Didn't really add a whole lot to his character.
The movie's so short. I don't usually say I want movies to be longer, but maybe there's a better version if it was fleshed out. It was so rushed because it takes place literally right after. And then once you get through 3 or 4 times of seeing the event, you realize you've only kind of seen Sully in a hotel room or on the phone with his wife, Laura Linney, who's actually probably never on set and never saw Tom Hanks for 1 second because she's literally only on a phone.
I don't know who I'm talking to.
She doesn't have a single scene where she's not with a phone up to her head, and that's fine.
I did think that Tom Hanks and Aaron Eckhart did fine jobs with the sparse characterizations that they were given and the small amount of material, the weak material that this film provides them. I think they do a great job. I kind of hope that we don't see any Oscar nominations for this film. I hope there's stronger stuff.
Only if there was a category for best mustache ever.
Eastwood employed his kind of typical color palette that he brings to films, where it's this muted, kind of cool, crisp, kind of like a January morning, much like when this event took place. It fits for this film, but it's not all that interesting. So yeah, I would say this is a competently made adult drama. I think people of a certain age would enjoy this film and not see the faults that we're bringing up. Maybe somebody who knows every detail about this story would find it more fascinating, or somebody who knows 0 details would find it more fascinating. I knew just enough, and I feel like that's what the film gave me, and so it just was hard for me to get engaged and find this to be that interesting of a story.
Well, I find the story much more engaging as how it was being portrayed on the news and how it was coming out in papers and through the different circuits, different news channels. And I didn't necessarily need to see that event, especially the way it was done here with, like we've been talking about, lack of tension and stuff like that. Though I didn't like the aesthetic of the film, I think it's definitely an unfocused, one of the weaker Eastwood movies. I still recognize the memorializing of the heroes and how amazing they were. The two main characters are extremely interesting human beings that have amazing stories and did an amazing thing. The film just, it shows you that, but not in a way that was really exciting, I guess.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna see a movie about this event that took place that seemed so heart-pounding and so insane, if you were there as one of those people, you want it to at least be as exciting as 1998's Turbulence.
Won't you come out? Come out. Sarah! That's it. Oh, I'm never flying this airline again.
Exactly. I was not a huge fan. For our audience chuggability, I would give this a backwash. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't want to say like you need to be older to enjoy this film, but I think people with a certain kind of adult sensibility who are looking for this film might actually enjoy it and want to go out and check it out. So I don't want to say it's not worth everybody's time to check out.
I agree with you on tons of these points. I am going to give it a slight thirst quencher because of the fact that, yes, its script is fairly terrible, and they didn't really go through the events the way I was hoping to see them, but it still has a feel-good sense to it, and it has Tom Hanks and Aaron Eckhart, and when it really boils down to it, that make or break point that puts it either in backwash or thirst quencher is definitely Aaron Eckhart's mustache.
And then for my personal gulp gauge score, I'm going to give this a 4.
Ooh. For my personal gulp gauge score, I'm going to go ahead and give Sully a 5.5.
Well, that's our review for Sully. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you check out the film, what you think. Please give us some comments down below and give us a like. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook.
At Cinema Gulp. So until next time, this is Ben.
And this is John.
For Cinema Gulp. We drink your cinema.
I drink it up!
New York, you're safer, and you're wasting my time. Our records all show you were filthy but fine. But they shuttered your stores when you opened the doors to the cops who were bored once they'd run out of crime.